Oh, hey, hey guys. Uh, it's been a super long time, but I'm back at it. I was going through some stuff, but we're back at it. Let's do it. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Foxy Moose Show, episode 16. I'm your host, tgodette, aka Foxy Moose, and let's get this show started. So for today, as you can see, we have lovely Art Station up on the screen. Today we will be discussing the topic of studying and how to properly study to actually learn some stuff instead of just saying, "Oh, let me just try this thing out," and not learn a single thing when you actually try to go and do it yourself. So, how do we do this? I didn't set a timer. I hope this doesn't go too long. Actually, let me just set a quick timer. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to be doing some studies. And the whole purpose of this video is to really show you what you can get out of a little bit of studying and how to properly do it. So, the first thing I want you to do or to notice is that I'm actually on ArtStation where there's a ton of art all the time. So, what I want you to do is that you're going to go ahead and pick any image that really catches your eye or something that you really enjoy, and I've already picked out a few. So I'm gonna click on one, and for example, if I like this one, now even if it's not in my style or even if it's not something that appeals to me, I'm not going to dismiss it immediately. I'm going to actually see if there's anything I can pull out of it to add to my own artwork. So, for example, here I may not. It looks awesome, but I may not like everything about it. But the things I do like about it are what I want to pull out of it. So, for example, I like this kind of outline that's going on in the head, and like the rendering of the hair, and the rendering of this crown going on, and especially these braids. So, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just copy this image, and I'm going to drop it. Going to drop it like it's hot. I'm gonna drop it like it's hot. All right, so boom, we put this in Photoshop, right? It's really simple actually. So now, so instead of going, okay, so instead of being like, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to start doing everything. I'm gonna start drawing every single line, making sure that everything is right. And yeah, let's get this follicle in here, and let's do that, right? And then let's do this, right? And then we got this bang here. No, I'm not gonna do that. We don't want to do that. Instead, what we want to do, and even basically, so for example, I'm going to focus on this kind of braid section. So I'm literally just gonna cut this out. I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to delete the rest of it, and I'm going to just blow this part up, right? Just gonna make that way big. I'll make it a bit smaller. So now what I want to do is, instead of focusing on the whole image, I'm just gonna focus on the small detail that's actually here. So I want to kind of get like this rendering style on these braids, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not trying to get it perfect. I'm just trying to get the rough idea in, right? So I'm going to just sketch that in. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, because you're not really, when you're doing this type of stuff, you're not really showing anybody. It's mainly for you. So there's really no fear of, oh, this has to be perfect. I have to get it right. No, usually you want to set a timer for about like, I like to shoot for 5 to 10 minutes on one study session, just so I can actually get the core elements out. And it's going to be really hard for me because I've never actually, like, I don't draw and talk often, but I got the lines in. All right, let's put this on a different layer. All right, I got the lines in. So now I'm going to go in and we're going to start adding some values. All right, let me go ahead. And another thing that I like to do is I like to actually come in here and make a new layer. And I like to go to the I like to go to color and fill the whole thing with black. Fill fill the whole thing fill the whole thing with black. That's not black. Okay, there we go. So I like to basically turn that into a grayscale. That way I'm not focused on the color. I'm just purely focused on the value, because values are really the core of any rendering. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. I got my ink brush. Now I'm gonna go in and just pick a local value that I can. I'm still trying to, personally, I'm trying to decide if I like starting from the shadows or if I like starting from the lights. But in this case, I think I'll start from the shadow. Right, and I'm just gonna get this in here. Just to get that in there real quick. You notice some, like, I'm going out, I'm cleaning out a little bit, but I'm not too focused on cleanliness at this point, and you'll see why. All right, let's just fill this in. All right. So now this may differ based on your drawing style, but it's really, you can either just start with, like, getting the shapes in with just a full silhouette, or you can do what I did. It's really up to you. So now, okay, I got my flat in. I got my flat shadow in. So now what I'm going to do, it's usually not a good idea to actually, let me take a sip of water actually. It's usually not a good idea to eye drop, but I do when I'm studying, because after I study, I go ahead and do a test. So here I'm really just trying to break it down as much as possible and really understand what's going on. So my base color, it jumps up pretty high actually. This like kind of shadow area goes here, and then that's the darkest area, and then the lightest area jumps up. You can't see my color picker actually. Let me see if I can fix that. All right, there we go. So now you can see my color picker. So it actually jumps up quite a bit, right? From there to there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start laying in my light shapes, because a lot of the other values are just transitions. And this is what you want to do. You want to break it down and you want to see how it works. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I guess I'll make a new layer here. And I'll clip that back to the mask. And now I'm just going to start laying in my light values, just to see like where he kind of like where this artist actually did theirs, right? So that cuts off there, and then it fades into like a transition. So I'm just gonna go and do that later. All right, so there's a area here. All right, and this is really the key to improving. Like, there's really no shortcut. It's literally just this. And I found out the hard way. It's literally just this. Just putting in the hours, putting in the time. All right. There's a thing there. All right, let's clean. There's a shadow there. And right now, it may seem like I'm copying, but as opposed to copying the whole thing, I'm kind of focused on this one area, because I was like, okay, I want to learn how to, get these. I want to see how this person got these braids in, instead of saying, I want to see how this person actually drew this whole thing. Now you can do that if you want to, but I recommend just keeping it to a focus. And a lot of other like YouTube artists also talk about that as well, keeping a focus while studying. And this is really the core of, like I said, of improving. And I want to get back to like doing more videos. I think I want to teach people a bit more and like really offer a bit more. Let's get the smooth gesture in there. Yeah, I want to offer a bit more to the art community. And I feel like YouTube would be one of the better ways to do it. So have some patience with me, please, as I learn to talk and draw at the same time. is definitely a skill that I have to practice, and you can only get better at it by doing it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it. All right. And then up here, I'll just leave that for a transition. All right, so now what I can do, since I have my light values roughly put in, now what I can do is go in and start adding these kind of like smooth transitions with like a softer brush. Let me get this soft hard brush. No, I'll get a airbrush. Right? This isn't muted, right? Okay. All right, so now, like I said, I'm just going to make these transitions. I guess I can just do this on the same layer. Just put that in. All right, and I'm not trying to get it perfect. I'm just trying to get it to the point where I understand what is going on. All right, so that kind of comes in like that. And this comes all the way back. And then something like that. Yeah, that's kind of what that looks like. All right. And then these are actually kind of like more, these are like less of a soft shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab my brush. I drop that. I'm going to put in, I'm just going to draw in that transition since it is such a sharp shape. Okay. And then we'll go back in and we'll actually do the transitions with the airbrush. All right. What's there? There's a part there. There's a part here. And a part here. All right, so now let's take this airbrush and just try to smooth these out. Because like I said, they're not extremely soft edge. They're just a little bit of a soft edge. All right, got that in there. And this artist did a phenomenal job on this piece, man. That's why I really wanted to. I saw it and I was like, ooh, this probably actually make a good video. And like I said, hopefully, I mean, I should get better with time at teaching. Because I understand right now it's probably really rough. So just bear with me. But I wanted to share this because I felt it was like really important. I feel like a lot of artists kind of struggle understanding that this is all it takes is to just study and study correctly and consistently. That line is very sharp. I have this blocking it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of work with what I have. Because again, the goal is to not get it perfect. And I'm personally going to, I'm going to add a transition here, or like a blend there, just to kind of help round out that form. And then here, all right, we're gonna bring that down like that. And then that's pretty much okay. I mean, I know there's like some dark spots in there. Go ahead and just take this black. There's a few dark spots in there, but the gist of everything is to basically get these shapes out and get these forms. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and there's a little bit of a change in there, and add that in there. All right, let's get my ink brush. Just want to add those in because I can see that he has the light shapes, and then They get thin on the inside. Yeah, most of this is just basically like a thick outside, like a thick outer line, like a thinner inner line. So let's actually go ahead and overpaint these. Let me check the time. It's been 14 minutes. All right, so at this point, all right, I think I've spent a little bit too long on here. That's okay. Like I said, I'm learning. It's hard to study and draw. So now the next part of this is to essentially do it again, but without without looking at it. All right, so let me just demonstrate that really quickly. Again, this will usually take another 5 to 10 minutes. But now what you want to do is you want to turn off everything. And you want to do it from scratch. You want to do it from scratch without looking at the reference. And you want to see if you remember the shapes, if you remember, why is this? Okay. You want to see if you remember the shapes, if you remember what things looked like. And already off the bat, I can tell that I don't remember the shape of the braids because I spent so much time on the rendering. I remember this part was like kind of big. And then I remember that there was more of like these kind of square shapes like this. And there was another one. And then there was a small one. And then there was like a thing up here, I believe. And of course, this looks bad. Then this is the stuff that every artist's stuff looks like this. No matter what. Like, artists who study always have stuff that looks bad, right? This obviously, I can tell already that this does not look anything like the study or like the piece. Because there were, so now this is what you would do is that you see where your weaknesses or weaknesses are. You say, okay, you can't actually, you didn't remember what the shape of the braid looked like. So now you would go back after this, after you do this 5 to 10 minute test, and you would focus on the shape of the braids. And then you would do the shape of the braids as a test. And then if you do like a rinse and repeat, you find that, okay, I got the shape of the braid now, but now my rendering's off again. So now you would go back and study it again, and then you would come back and do another test. And like I said, it's just a rinse and repeat process, right? So now I'm just going to, even though I know my shape is wrong, I'm still going to go ahead and polish it. Just because I want to get in the stuff that I did learn or quote unquote learned, because I had my mentor was Anthony Jones. You can actually look him up on YouTube, Robot Pencil. He told a story of how one of his students, he asked his student to like draw a giraffe or study a giraffe, and they ended up they studied for hours drawing nothing but giraffes. And then he was like, okay, now draw me a giraffe. And he didn't remember a single thing about what he learned. And that was because all he did was just copy. And copying is not something that you want to do when you're trying to learn, right? So right now, I have no idea what this area looks like. I'm just kind of putting it in based on what I know or what I think it looks like. Oops. And like I said, this obviously doesn't look like the study. You can tell that there's some things that are off. There's some things that I missed. And over time, I will increase my ability to paint and learn and talk and stuff. But all I would have to do is just go back and study more. All right. So all right. So we had this. I remember there was some shapes that came in. This was kind of like that. This was like, this had like a shape here. Oh no, that was down here, I believe. All right. And then I think there was like a line like that somewhere in there, somewhere over there. And then All right, so now I know we added like a transitional color between the two. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, it was like about right here where it kind of made the shape. It kind of added like these kind of like these shapes like that. These little spikes. All right, my gestures aren't clean, but I'm just trying to get to the point now. It's just about repetition. Like I'm seeing all the mistakes that I'm making, and it's clear. Like I obviously didn't retain the information from when I was studying. Like I remember there was some darker lines around this area. There were some like darker lines in there, right? And this is where we left off. Like we were doing like the darker line parts. All right, and now we take the soft brush and we go ahead and make these kind of soft, because I remember us doing that, making these transitions a little bit softer on the edges. And here we made that a bit softer. All right, I know we made the edges here a bit softer. All right, and this gray area was kind of like blended in here. And normally I would have a timer going, but I'm using my timer for something else. And I never end up keeping these videos to like the lengths that I want to keep them to. Like I wanted this to be like 10 to 15 minutes, and it's like 20 already. But this is good stuff. Hopefully you guys get a lot of value out of this. All right, so let's take a look. Right, and this is where this is the most important part. Right, so let's move this, let's merge this down, and let's merge this stuff down. All right, so this is, let's write this up here. This is the test. This is the test. Right? And this is the study. And you can clearly see that there's things that are completely off. But this is where you want to write stuff down. You want to take notes, right? Let's pull up the original. Now, obviously, the original looks a lot better than the study and a lot better than the test. But it's our goal here to figure out what's the difference, right? So from here into the test, I can tell I missed out on clean gestures. Clean gestures as in these kind of like sharp shapes in here. Like mine are very like kind of railroady, which makes them a bit jagged. We have, it's kind of like over blended. Over blended. Maybe he used like a smudge brush or smudge tool. Not quite sure. Over blended. Or maybe he just kind of like dabbed it. The shape of the braid is incorrect. These don't look like braids. They look like a jumble of stuff, right? So braid shape. And before I wasn't planning on showing like my study process and stuff, but nobody else is showing their study process stuff. So I was like, okay, I might as well just do it and show you guys what it takes to actually, improve. Like I mean, some people may assume that this makes me a horrible artist if I can't draw braids. But in reality, it's like, but I'm learning here. Of course I can draw. I know I can draw. Can I draw as good as other professionals? No, but I know I can draw, right? So I just want to show you guys what it takes to actually get good. Get good. So the lines are too thick. Inner lines are too thick. Inner lines too thick. Somebody's calling me. I'll call her back in a second. And we're gonna wrap this up really quickly. Lines are too thick. And so clean gestures, overblended, the braid shape is wrong. Inner lines too thick. But I think we started to get the hang of the forms. We were missing a lot of like defined inner lines like in here. So that means that means I would have to focus on one section of the braid. So next time I would probably go in here and study this section or study this section as opposed to studying the whole thing, because what went wrong was that I spent too much time trying to get everything right. I just need to kind of focus on the important parts and to focus on how the light is working with the shadows and how the shapes are being made. All right. And that's the gist of this video. I just wanted to show you guys what it's like to actually study correctly and learn. Now I might go ahead and post the actual, like, the updated study on Twitter. So I'll catch you guys later. Hopefully you guys like this video. Hopefully you got a lot of insight out of it. And please subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I will be starting to upload again. And follow me on Twitter if you would like to see the end results of this study. All right? I'll catch you guys next time. Hopefully every Wednesday I'll be able to do this. But I'll catch you guys next time, and see ya.